Ever get lost in a good book?
Yeah.
Completely absorbed, you know, world just fades away.
Oh, yeah, totally. Deep focus. Time just slips away. It's precious.
It is. But these days,
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of focus is harder to find, you know?
Mm.
What with the pings and the notifications and feeling like we have to be connected constantly. Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into the world of social media and how it's impacting our brains.
Especially for those of us who can remember a time before all this digital stuff took over.
Exactly. And to help us through this digital jungle, we're looking at the research of Dr. Corey Emanuel.
A media psychologist who's been studying all this.
And he's uncovered some pretty surprising stuff. Might change how you think about scrolling through Facebook or Instagram.
His research points to one big culprit for our shrinking attention spans.
Okay.
Dopamine.
Most people have heard of dopamine, but remind us what it is and why it matters here.
Well, it's a neurotransmitter. A chemical messenger in the brain plays a key role in our reward system.
Okay.
So it's released when we experience something pleasurable or rewarding.
So it's like our brain saying, hey, that felt good. Let's do it again.
Exactly. Now think about how social media is designed.
Yeah.
Every notification, every comment triggers a little burst of dopamine.
It's like a mini reward to keep us coming back for more.
Exactly.
So over time, could this constant dopamine stimulation rewire our brains, make us crave those quick hits of reward, and less able to focus on things that don't give us that instant gratification?
That's what Dr. Emanuel's research suggests. He argues that the way we use social media, with its constant stream of notifications and updates, it's training our brains to expect and want those dopamine rushes.
Interesting.
This makes it harder to engage with activities that require sustained attention and focus, like reading a book.
Or having a good conversation.
Exactly.
So it's almost like we're being conditioned to want those short bursts of stimulation over anything that requires more effort or patience.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about our ability to focus. His research also looks into how social media impacts memory.
Oh, really? I never thought about social media and memory being connected. How does that work?
Well, the same dopamine rush that makes social media so engaging can actually interfere with how our memories are formed.
Okay.
When we're bombarded with information and stimulation, our brains just don't have the time or energy to encode and store memories.
So it's not just that we're distracted by social media, it's actually affecting our brain's ability to remember what we're experiencing.
Exactly. And he points to this really interesting experiment done at the University of Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
So a psychology professor there divided his students into two groups during a lecture.
Okay.
One group was allowed to keep their phones and got distracting messages all through the lecture, and the other group, phones were off.
So one group had that constant social media tapping on the shoulder, while the other could just focus on the lecture without distractions.
Exactly. And when both groups were tested on the lecture material afterward, the students who had been distracted by their phones, they did much worse, especially on the questions about information from later in the lecture.
Makes sense. Their brains were so busy processing those notifications, they couldn't really absorb the info from the lecture.
Precisely. And think about how this goes beyond the classroom.
Okay.
Trying to focus on work, following a complex argument, even having a meaningful conversation, all while your brain is being pulled in different directions by those notifications.
It's a recipe for mental overload.
It is. And this constant distraction, it can have long-term consequences for how we think, potentially affecting our ability to think critically, solve problems, and retain information.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about how this constant dopamine loop affects our focus and even our memory. But it's not just about how our brains work, right? Social media has a big impact on our emotions, too, and how we see ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's actually what Dr. Emanuel looks at next in his research. The impact of social media on our mental well-being.
Yeah, this is something I think a lot of people can relate to. I mean, who hasn't felt a little envious scrolling through Instagram? Or that pressure to have the perfect life on Facebook?
Right. And Dr. Emanuel points out that while social media can be good for connecting with people and building communities, it also has a darker side.
Okay.
One that can lead to stress, anxiety, and even depression.
Let's talk about that. What are some ways social media can be bad for our mental health?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying.
It's basically bullying that happens online, using digital platforms to harass or intimidate or harm others.
Wow, it's really disturbing that bullying has found a new way to exist in the digital world.
And what makes cyberbullying so bad is that it's not limited to a specific time or place. It can follow victims wherever they go online.
So it feels like there's no escape.
Exactly. And because we're always connected, that feeling of being connected, which is good in a lot of ways, can also become a source of stress and anxiety.
Right.
And then there's cyberstalking,
Cyber stalking?
which is using digital platforms to track someone's online activity,
Oh, wow.
sending unwanted messages, or even making threats.
That's scary. It's like a total invasion of privacy. It must make people feel constantly afraid.
It is. And then you have what Dr. Emanuel calls parasocial relationships.
Parasocial relationships. What are those?
These are one-sided relationships where people form strong emotional connections with celebrities or influencers.
You mean like online personas?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in someone's life online
Yeah.
and start to feel like you know them, even though the relationship isn't two-sided.
Right. And it's normal to feel a connection with people you admire or whose content you like.
Okay.
But the problem comes when those parasocial relationships take over, leading to unhealthy comparisons and a distorted view of reality.
So you're always comparing your life to this perfect version of someone else's life, which can really hurt your self-esteem.
Exactly. And it's not just celebrities or influencers. We compare ourselves to our friends and acquaintances on social media, too. Right. Which can make us feel inadequate and envious.
It's easy to think everyone else is living this amazing life while you're stuck in the boring day-to-day.
It's a common experience. And Dr. Emanuel says this constant exposure to these curated versions of life on social media can really impact our mental well-being,
Makes sense?
contributing to anxiety, depression, and body image issues.
So it's not just about the time we spend online. It's also about what we're looking at and the messages we take in.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be aware of our social media habits
Okay?
and to curate our online experience in a way that's good for our mental health.
That makes sense. But how do we actually do that? I mean, social media is such a big part of our lives now. I can't imagine just disconnecting completely.
You're right. It's not about quitting cold turkey. It's about finding a healthy balance
Okay.
and developing strategies to manage our social media use.
So that it doesn't take away from our well-being. Okay, so we've talked about a lot in this deep dive, like how social media affects our brains and our emotions. But what can we actually do about it?
That's the big question. And the good news is Dr. Emanuel gives us some really practical strategies to manage how we use social media in a way that's good for us.
So it's about finding that balance, right? Where we can enjoy social media, but not let it take over our lives or hurt our mental health.
Exactly. One of the easiest and most effective things he suggests is setting limits on our social media use.
Okay.
Like having certain times of day that are social media free,
Like when?
like during meals or family time or before bed. Or you could set a timer when you open a social media app, just to make sure you're not scrolling for hours and hours.
I like that. It's so easy to get lost in that scroll.
It is. And there are even some great apps out there that can help with this. They'll let you set daily limits for certain apps, and then they'll give you a little reminder when you're getting close to your limit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I bet people would be surprised how much time they spend on social media if they actually tracked it.
Oh, definitely. Another helpful strategy is to be more aware of how we feel when we're using social media.
How do you mean?
Well, Dr. Emanuel says to take a second to check in with yourself before and after you use these platforms. Like, ask yourself, am I feeling more stressed or anxious after looking at my feed? Do I feel envious? And if the answer is yes, then it might be time to think about what you're looking at and who you're following.
So it's about noticing those changes in how we feel
Yeah.
and realizing when social media is having a bad effect.
Exactly. And remember, you can decide what you see online. You don't have to follow accounts or look at content that makes you feel bad.
Okay.
Unfollow, mute, block, whatever you need to do. Create a digital space that makes you feel good.
That's a good point. It's like taking control of what you see online
Yeah.
and making it a place that helps your mental health instead of hurting it.
Exactly. And sometimes the best thing for our mental health is to just take a break from social media completely.
Like a digital detox.
Yeah. Even just for a day or a weekend. Disconnect and reconnect with yourself and the world without the constant social media filter.
It's like hitting the reset button.
It is. And you might be surprised by how much you enjoy the break.
I can see that.
Hmm.
We don't always realize how much mental energy social media takes up until we take a step back.
Exactly.
This has been so interesting. We've learned about the science of social media and how it affects us. And we've even got some ideas for how to manage our digital lives. So what are the key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that knowledge is power. When we understand how social media affects our brains and our emotions, we can make better choices about how we use it. It's not about quitting social media. It's about finding a balance that works for you and putting your mental health first.
I love that. And listeners, remember, this is just the start of the conversation. Keep thinking about this topic. Try different things to manage your social media use and talk about it with others. We're all figuring out this digital world together. And the more we share our experiences and support each other, the better we'll be able to use technology without letting it hurt our well-being.
That's right. And a big thank you to Dr. Corey Emanuel for his research on this. We'll be sure to link to his work in the show notes.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it helpful and interesting. Until next time, keep thinking deeply.